Hello everyone and welcome back to Beatley Tone's Beatles channel. Lovely to have you here. Thanks for joining me for this video and I hope you're all doing well. Now, about a week or so ago I dropped a video bringing news of a brand new John Lennon documentary due for release in the spring of 2025 called Borrowed Time and directed by British film director Alan G. Parker. Now, the information that I gave in that video came from a website that I subscribe to called The Daily Beatle, and Alan, who as far as I'm aware has never seen any of my videos before, did see the video about Borrowed Time, and he came in on the comments on that video and said some of the information wasn't right. Could we talk? So we got in touch and we had a phone call last week, and Alan very generously gave me 40 minutes of his time talking about the film Borrowed Time, and some of which he has said that I can share with you. So that is what I'm going to do in this video. Now, just to add a little bit of context to that, Alan is a very well respected film director. He made a film about Monty Python called Almost the Truth, The Lawyer's Cut, which was nominated for 6 Emmy Awards. But most of his films have been in the sort of the pop music genre. He made a film called Who Killed Nancy about Sid Vicious and Nancy Spungen. He's also made films about Status Quo, David Essex, The Clash. He was also involved as a contributor to a documentary about one of my favourite albums of all time, the Jam's All Mod Cons album. But as far as the Beatles are concerned, he made a film in 2017 called It Was 50 Years Ago Today, The Beatles, Sgt. Pepper and Beyond. And that film went out to about 226 cinemas in the UK, starting from the day that the Sgt. Pepper 50th anniversary box set dropped. So people naturally assumed that that Alan's film was an official film, released by Apple to promote the Sgt. Pepper 50th anniversary box, which it wasn't. But the film was originally scheduled to have a 2-week run in cinemas in the UK, but it became so popular that it actually ended up staying in cinemas for about 3.5 months. And Alan did a lot of promotional work for it as well, doing Q&A sessions all over the world well into 2018. Now, Empire magazine, which is a British film magazine, a kind of equivalent, in fact they might even be from the same publishing group as Mojo and Q, when they reviewed Alan's film It Was 50 Years Ago Today, they said that if Ron Howard wants to make another Beatles movie, they suggested that they spend some time with Alan G. Parker and they might get it right next time. So, very well respected. I had, a long chat with him. I've got extensive notes of our phone call and I'll get into that in a minute. But Alan, very nice bloke, and I say he very generously gave me 40 minutes of his time. He also promised to come on the channel nearer the release of the film and do a video interview. So I'm really looking forward to that. What he's told me in the phone call has got me very excited about the film, and I hope it will you too. And stay tuned to the channel because we'll hopefully have Alan on nearer the time of the release, which we think is going to be around May or June next year, 2025. So the story of Borrowed Time starts in the summer of 2018, and the original idea for the film was that it was going to concentrate on the conspiracy theories, the FBI, the CIA, conspiracy theories surrounding the assassination of John Lennon, with the idea that the film would be in cinemas in December 2020 to coincide with the 40th anniversary of John's death. But obviously then COVID intervened and the world closed down, and when the world came back from COVID, Alan had decided that he didn't want to make that film anymore, and the film was going to concentrate on the last decade of John's life. And actually, it goes beyond that. It starts with the the Bigger Than Jesus comment in 1966, and goes beyond John's death and talks. There's new information about the proposed 1981 world tour. Some really good stuff that I found absolutely fascinating when I was talking to Alan, and I hope you will too, and I'll come to that a bit later. But the idea that Alan had would be that he would try and interview as many people as he possibly could who knew John personally, and he had his own criteria for this, that they had to have known John personally for about 5 to 7 years minimum to be included in this film. And because to be someone who knew John personally, bearing in mind that John's been gone, over 40 years, these people aren't getting any younger. And if we don't get their story now, then these stories are going to be lost forever. It's a bit like, talking to your grandparents about their lives. If you don't ever ask your grandparents about their lives, then you've got a whole lump of family history that you'll never ever know about, because once they're gone, they're gone. And so, it was important to get people that actually knew John well and personally to comment about this film. And Alan has said during the making of this film, 3 people that he interviewed have since passed, but he does say that he reckons that there's about 17 people that he talked to in this film who knew John personally, but have never ever spoken about John publicly before until this film. So that is really fascinating as well. He did say that there were maybe 3 or 4 sort of journalists that were interviewed for this film that may not have known John personally, or for that amount of time. One person that he did mention was Ken Womack, who we know very well as the author of the Mal Evans book. And Ken impressed Alan no end. Alan said he interviewed him for about 5 hours. He said he could have spoken to him for 55 hours. He was that interested. He described him as a human encyclopedia. So when you use talking heads to help tell a story in a documentary, it's really important that you get the right people who are relevant to the story, who knew the subject personally, and who are there telling stories that we haven't heard before. Really, really important. And it really sounds like Alan has achieved that with this film. He talked to me about his interview with Tariq Ali, who talked about John's activism, in that kind of 1972 period where John was getting behind, every cause going. And he said that he described it as an incredible interview where he talks about John's activism with honesty that has never been spoken about before, and that sounds really positive as well. Another person that was interviewed for this film was Jerry Kagel. Now, Jerry Kagel was a friend of John's throughout the whole of the Lost Weekend period, and he paid out of his own pocket for John and Yoko to be interviewed by Dave Sholin, which turned out to be John's last ever interview. It took place on the 8th of December and it was actually recorded about 12 hours before John was shot. So it's an absolutely invaluable interview, which you can hear. It's on YouTube. You can hear it on YouTube if you haven't heard it before. But Dave Sholin's radio station didn't think that John and Yoko were worthy of an interview. Thought they were too washed up in 1980. So Jerry Kagel paid for this interview out of his own pocket, and obviously it turned out to be an invaluable interview because it was his last one. But Jerry Kagel has never spoken to anybody about John Lennon publicly in 44 years. He's 81 now, and he considered John to be one of his best friends, and they interviewed Jerry for 2.5 hours for this film, and he spoke very passionately about John, and Alan said he gave some incredible anecdotes, so that all sounds really positive as well. Also interviewed was Jay Bergen, who was John's lawyer, who fought his case against Morris Levy when they tried to put out that bootleg version of the rock and roll album called Roots. He's got a story to tell in this film as well. One thing that Alan told me that I really liked was that all the interviewees were told before they started their interview that they were not allowed to mention the name of the killer. They had to refer to him either as the assassin or the murderer. If they mentioned his name, the cameras would be shut off and the interview would be terminated, which I like that a lot. Alan very determined not to give that bastard any further notoriety or any free publicity, so I like that a lot. He also interviewed a journalist called Nat Weiss, who worked for NBC, and his part is at the end of the movie. And Alan says that he says something very revelatory, but truthful. And a little bit profound. He described it as a kind of a wow moment, but he didn't tell me. He wouldn't disclose to me what that was, so that's something to look forward to. But Alan Weiss put them also in touch with someone who lived in the block opposite the Dakota, that sort of heard the gunshots and watched from his sort of 12th floor apartment the whole night unfold right until the morning. He's got a story to tell, and I'm sure that is an account that will be very interesting to hear as well. Alan says that the film doesn't labour on John's death, but more sort of asks the question how he goes from being, from a Beatle to be so politically active that he becomes under surveillance from the Nixon government, and then out the other side where he goes so quiet that we don't hear anything for him for 5 years. It's such a varied story that goes from one thing to the other throughout those first 5 years, and then he goes very quiet and then he comes back. Now there is going to be a trailer for the film, and that is going to be cut in the next couple of weeks, and Alan said that will be dropping before Christmas, so we'll be able to see clips from this film very soon, so that's something to look forward to. And more eagle-eyed amongst you may have noticed that the poster for the film that I've used in the thumbnail for this video is different from the poster I used for the thumbnail in the first video that I made about the film, and that is because Borrowed Time has got a new poster which is more relevant to the new format of the film. And on that poster there is a quote, and it reads, "John told me he was in the process of getting Bill Graham to promote the tour as well as a booking agent. I told him, you don't need all that, you're John Lennon." And that quote comes from the beautifully named Henry the Horse Smith, who was the tour manager of the 1981 tour that John and Yoko were preparing to undertake. Now there is a big section in this film talking about that tour, which is going to be absolutely fascinating information that we've never had before. Alan said there are 7 people that are involved in the tour that talk about this tour. One of them being the lead guitarist that was going to be on the tour. Presumably that is Earl Slick, but that's not confirmed. That's just me speculating. But one of the people that was interviewed was the set designer, the person that that designed the set that was going to be used at all the venues on the tour, and Alan and his team have had access to the drawings of the set and the plans of the set, and they've been able to recreate that for the film using animation, which is absolutely fantastic. So we're going to be able to see what the sort of the backdrop was going to be, for the shows and everything. He said that the whole tour was was set in stone by about October 1980, which is something I don't think we knew before. You know, all the dates and venues and all that sort of stuff, all signed, sealed and delivered by October 1980. So that is going to be an absolutely fascinating part of this film, and a part that I'm really looking forward to. One thing I'm absolutely kicking myself about is that I didn't ask Alan whether there was a set list drawn up for the 1981 tour, or whether, you know, if there was one drawn up, whether it was included in the film. So we would find out in the film what songs were going to get played at those gigs. Wouldn't we love to know what songs John Lennon was going to play on that tour? Absolutely kicking myself that I didn't ask him that. If Alan, if you are watching this video, Alan, and you want to comment down in the comments, I don't expect you to tell me the songs if you know which songs were going to be included, but if you just want to say whether there is a set list included in the film, I'm sure we would love to know that. Now, there, as I said in the first video, there are two versions of this film. There is the version that is going to go out to cinemas. That is a 2 hour and 8 minute version of the film, and there is also a director's rough cut which lasts 3.5 hours, and that is really exciting to know that is out there as well. Now, obviously, the 2 hour 8 minute version is the one that's going to be in cinemas, so that is going to be more for more casual fans or just general cinema goers. Obviously, the 3.5 hour version is for hardcore fans, and as I described it on our phone call, that version is the version for those of us who for who 8 hours of Get Back just wasn't enough. And Alan said that he created that version of the film really for his own thirst as a fan. So really looking forward to seeing that. That is going to be included as an extra on the DVD and Blu-ray. So the film is due to come out either in May or June next year, 2025. And Alan said that the DVD and Blu-ray will come out very soon after. He said probably about 3 weeks after the DVD and the Blu-ray, with that 3.5 hour director's cut on it. Following very shortly after. So if you're one of these people that live out in the wilds or you're miles away from a cinema, you haven't got long to wait for the DVD and the Blu-ray. And Alan said that the cinema version and the director's cut are cut in different ways, and he gave an example. He said that the story that the cinema version opens up with is the final story on the director's cut. So yeah, it's all very exciting. What else can I tell you about the film? The film took 16 months of filming throughout 2021 and 2022, and they went all over the world to go and speak to all these people. There were 54 people interviewed, 50 of them who knew John personally. Now, obviously, not all 54 people are going to be included in the cinema version, but I think they are all included in the director's cut. Now, Alan also said that he showed, and I think it was the cinema version, to a journalist friend of his, and he's seen the whole film, and the journalist friend said to Alan, "I think you've just made the most honest John Lennon film that has ever been made," and I'm going to leave it there because that is enough excitement for one day. I think this is a very exciting project, and I can't wait to see it. I hope you're all excited about it. So please tell me down in the comments what you think of this news, whether you're excited about the film. Do tell me down in the comments. I read all your comments and I will respond to all your comments. I'd like to thank Alan once again for giving up his time to talk to me. Really do appreciate that. And remember, he did say that he would come on the channel nearer the time of the release and do a full video interview and tell us all about the film. So please stay tuned to the channel for that. I feel very privileged. It's not every day you get to talk to a film director. It's certainly popped my film director chatting to Cherry for a start. Okay, well, that is it from me. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye bye.